Hey, hey, hey. It's Finance Friday Live. Um, Give me just a moment to make sure everything is doing what it's supposed to do. Okay. While we're waiting, hey, Octavia. So yeah, if you're here, go ahead and check in while I'm getting everything set up. Y'all know how this rolls every single week. I got to make sure I'm streaming live everywhere I'm supposed to and nothing's acting up. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, love. Thank you. Something new that I'm doing too while we're waiting on Facebook to act right. If you're listening to this on the podcast, because I'm going to start uploading this to the podcast as well. So, this is going to be a bonus episode for Fridays every week. These are not edited, so you're not going to hear all of the intros and outros and things like that. It's just going to get straight to business. And then also, um, Finance Friday Live is generally where I just go over news from the week, what happened in finance. So, all the news and stuff that I read about, shared about, talked about, and what that means for you. And then I also answer questions. So, if you're listening on the podcast and you want to join me live, please either go to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube because I stream in all four places. And I will be more than happy to interact with you because that's what I'm here for. So, with that being said, let me just make sure. Oops, why did I do that? Facebook is not acting right today, so they just might miss it this time because I don't want to do what I did last week because that just cut out everybody and it was a mess. So, they might just miss out. So, let's go ahead and get started. So, y'all, it is June 3rd, 2022. Do you know what that means? It's a new month. That means it should be a new budget or cash flow situation or manifestation, whatever you want to call it. It's a new month. So that means you should have a new plan, right? So every month you should have a new budget really before the month begins. I usually do it at the end of the previous month. So that way all of my dollars know where they're going before the month even starts. But with that being said, it is June 3rd, so go ahead and get it going if you didn't do it already. Go ahead and get your budget in line. I just wanted to throw that out there because people be forgetting sometimes and it's important. All right, so let's get into the news. So, the big news from this week was that the FTC and a judge shut down the credit repair well, they call it pyramid scheme, financial education services, also known as FES, because they said that they were accused of being a $467 million pyramid scheme targeting people hurt by the pandemic. Now, I remember when this started getting popular, and I had actually made a post and I was like, so everybody credit repair people now? Because it just seemed like everybody was a credit repair person. And I made a joke at that time. I was like, is this a MLM pyramid scheme? Like, what's going on? Like, how is it that all of a sudden everybody is a credit repair person? So, lo and behold, that's exactly what it was. And now they have been shut down for now. Now, granted, just a little history of this company. They were shut down before, just under a different name. They created a new name and then they put their services back out there under the FES umbrella, but they were really called something else before. So this company is not new. They've been shut down a couple of times before. Don't quote me, but I feel like a couple of times before. So, with that being said, y'all, be careful out there. Not everybody out there is there to help you or for you. And it's up to you to do your due diligence in making sure that whoever you are forking your money over to or whoever you are trusting with whatever it is something that's legit. And I highly recommend, if it's a big company, look at the Better Business Bureau. Look at different reputable review sources, so that way you can see if you're making a good decision or not. Also, I mean, tap in. Like, if you see something that doesn't look right, let me know, because it might be somebody else out there that are looking at the same thing, and I will do the research because I like to get down to, the nitty gritty, what's really going on. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me about anything you get. I definitely want to see it, know about it, so that way I can inform others if it is in fact something that is not on the up and up. So with this, I mean, they pretty much shut them down. And I feel for everybody that did take part in FES when it was a thing. But like I said, use this. Don't beat yourself up about it. Just use this as an educational opportunity. Like, okay, maybe next time I'll do a little bit more research, or I'll ask a little bit more questions, or so on and so forth. Because usually people, usually, honestly, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. So if something sounds too good to be true, do your research, y'all. I cannot stress that enough. Also, if their main thing is they want you to recruit people, that should be a red flag in of itself. Okay. If they're just like, yeah, you can make this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh, but make sure you recruit people, or they're constantly hounding you to recruit people, then that should be a red flag too. And if you have any doubts, there's something called an income disclosure statement that all of these MLM companies have to give you if you ask for it. And on that income disclosure statement, you can see what people are really making. Like, it breaks it down. Like, usually what you'll see is like 97% are making maybe $100 a month. And then it'll start breaking down like the higher earners and how much they're making, whether it's the top 1%, so on and so forth. But that'll be a way where you can actually see how much you could potentially make in real life, not just based on what people are telling you, because they have to put those documents together. And if you request it, they have to give it to you. So I've actually saved a couple of people from making some bad investments just by asking for those income disclosure statements. So if you're evaluating an offer for an MLM or what have you, ask them for the income disclosure statement so you can make an informed decision. Okay. So I just wanted to bring that up because I felt like this was really important. It's been a buzz all over social media. Everybody's been talking about it. And I just wanted to make sure that you all were aware too. All right. So, with that being said, another scam. Now, this scam happens every year. So, you shouldn't be surprised at this point. But, y'all, the IRS will never, ever, ever email you or call you. I've never heard them call you. They usually send letters in the mail. That's usually how they interact with people, like, unless you call them. So, for instance, let's say you get a call from the IRS, right? Say, you know what? I'll give you all a call back. And you call the IRS directly from the number that you see on the IRS's website. Now, if you call and then they say, oh, yeah, we were trying to reach you, then okay, cool. But if you call and they're like, we have no record of this, then you just saved yourself from giving up some information. So, and I encourage people to do that with all calls that they get from companies that they're not quite sure of. Say, you know what? I'm gonna call y'all back. And then you find the real number and then you call back. That way you can protect yourself. Because anytime you get an incoming call, you really don't know who's calling, honestly. And especially now that there are spoof apps and spoof callers, they can literally call you from any number. Like, I've been getting calls from US Postal Service, and I'm like, why would the US Postal Service be calling me? I never answer and they never leave a message. So guess what? If they need me, they know where to find me. They deliver my mail every week. Every day. So if you ever get a call that seems fishy and they're like, oh, we need some information to verify you, blah, 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 don't just automatically give up your information. Go ahead and say, you know what? I'm going to give you a call back. And then you find the number and then you call back. Don't just take their word on whatever number popped up, or, you know, just no. Okay. So that's one way that you can make sure that you are protecting yourself. All right. And please, y'all, feel free to ask any questions as we're going along. If you're listening to the podcast version, join us live and you can ask your questions live. The next thing I wanted to talk about was gas prices. Now, I don't really have to. Oh, before I go into that, wait a minute. I forgot one more thing on the IRS. They will never email you. So if you get an email from the IRS, go ahead and delete it. Don't click on nothing. Don't give them anything. None of that. Because the IRS will never, you hear me? Let me repeat, never email you. Okay. So if you see anything from the IRS, like, oh, we have your refund ready, or we decided to go ahead and refund how much you owed, or whatever, go ahead and delete it because it's not them. And if you get a letter in the mail that has the IRS on it, then that's from them. So make sure you open your mail. All right, let me let me get to the gas. So as we know, gas prices are ridiculous. That goes without saying. Here in North Carolina, I think we're at like 425, 430 last time I got gas. Now, granted, don't quote me because I be doing discounts and all types of stuff, but we somewhere up in there. Now, I came across an article where in Southern California, it's up to 805 for regular. Y'all, all of my listeners in California and New York, are y'all okay? That's all I want to know. Are y'all okay? Because I know if gas was $8 here, I would not be going anywhere. So I just thought that that was so interesting that out in California, their gas is up to 805. I don't know, like, where is this cap? Like, when are we gonna stop? Like, when is the gouging gonna stop, So I guess we'll just see, and I'll keep y'all updated on any new developments I have in the gas arena. Now, another thing I wanted to go over is we are in a time where, it's high inflation. People's basic needs aren't being met. Food insecurity is coming up on a high or at an all time high already. So, with that being said, I feel like it is related to um, all of this violence and stuff that we have going on now. So, with that being said, I posted this on Twitter yesterday, but I hate to say it, but I feel like the violence is going to keep increasing because if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, if people's basic needs aren't being met, and when we're talking about basic, we're talking about safety, we're talking about food, we're talking about shelter, all of those things are in jeopardy right now. And so, because if you look around, like I know here in North Carolina, the housing market is ridiculous. It's ridiculous right now. There are people that can't even afford where they stay. They can't afford gas. They can't afford food. So it's going to get real out here. So I just want y'all to make sure that you are keeping yourself safe, keeping your family safe. Unfortunately, like I just feel like it's probably going to get worse until all of this calms down, because if people can't provide for their families, it's going to be a do or die situation. I'm just being real. And like I said, safety is important. Food is important. Shelter is important. All of those things are important. And last week I went over some tips on what you can do now to start making sure that you get your money in order and make sure that you're taking the steps necessary. So just to recap a few of those, I was saying, make sure you're saving. Like, try to keep your spending to a minimum right now. Make sure you're saving up money because you're going to need it. Everything is high, and it really doesn't matter how much you make because it's like it's crazy right now. Okay. So just make sure that you're saving money, make sure you're paying off. If you can, start paying off high interest credit card debt, because that's going to give you your biggest return on investment right now, especially with interest rates rising. Make sure that if you are still investing, well, keep investing, of course, like if you have your 401k or what have you, but make sure that, because you can also take advantage of the market, and things going down and things like that. So keep investing if you're already investing. If it's already coming out your check, keep investing. But you definitely want to prioritize savings. So making sure you have your emergency fund and maybe even a little extra. And then paying off your high interest credit cards and stuff, because that's going to give you your highest return on investments. And if you do have extra money after that, I know I've talked about maybe a few weeks ago, I bonds. Now, let me just say this is not investment advice. Do what you want. This is just for educational and entertainment purposes only. But a lot of people were putting their money into I bonds, which it has to stay in there for at least a year, but that's giving the highest return right now. I think right now until October it's 9.62%. Don't fully quote me, but I know it's somewhere up in there. So a lot of people were putting any extra savings over in there so they can take advantage of that. But y'all, please be careful out here. Please make sure that you are taking care of yourself. Self care is important, especially with all of this stuff going around. You don't want to get into a place, a mindset where you're like, oh my gosh, the sky is falling. Oh my gosh, it's horrible out here. Because what that does is that reduces your energy level. And then that also opens you up to get sick and just go on that whole uh going on autopilot with the negative. Okay, so you want to stay positive. And with that being said, I have a affirmation for y'all to use for next week. So I'm gonna start doing that every Friday too, just giving y'all a little affirmation. This one is one of my favorites because I have it written right up there on my whiteboard. But it is, I release every block that held me from receiving prosperity. And so use that affirmation all this weekend, all next week, and I'll give you a new one on Friday. But use that affirmation to start getting your mind trained on positive, because it's easy to slip into a negative mindset with all this stuff going around. Okay. All this stuff happening, people dying, getting killed, all that stuff. It's easy to get into a negative mind space. And your best defense is to stay positive. So make sure you do that. And I'll repeat the affirmation one more time. I release every block that held me from receiving prosperity. All right. Well, with that being said, I'm going to just check real quick if I have any questions. Mm, mm, mm. All right. I do not. So, you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and I hope to see you next week.